My name is Tanya Schur, and my grandmother's name was Florence Ward, and my great-grandma Flora Collins. She was born at Heart Butte, Montana, and came to northern Alberta where her family took script and lived on a homestead in northern Alberta. She married a Cree man and lived in a Cree way. My grandmother is a residential school survivor and handed that story to my father and my aunties, and that is what I've carried into my life. I work at the Friendship Center, the Native Friendship Center here in Red Deer, and we do housing and homelessness prevention. And so this issue of murdered and missing women in particular lives in our center every day. And we have been directly involved with trying to locate missing young women especially, but also other missing women. And I think this issue really came home to us 3 years ago when the Red Deer RCMP located and solved a murder. And so this issue is very much in our hearts, as it is something we deal with all the time. So when the opportunity came to bring this issue to Red Deer, we saw the need and the opportunity to create a greater awareness and to honor the lives of those women that we know and their families, and to provide a sacred container for families to continue to process the walk of grief. I'm one of the keepers here and help as much as I can in any way. I think the 9-month preparation of consistent community circles was very helpful. We have a small but committed core group of people that practice the ceremony. We have a number of traditional elders that took on the responsibility of guiding the process in a way that would ensure that the integrity of our ways were protected. And I think by starting every community gathering with a smudge ceremony and with teachings, I really believe that that's the foundation of ensuring that things go in a good way. Red Deer is a very diverse community, not only with Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal people, but our First Peoples population's diverse in and of itself. And so it was really important to spend lots of time in circle building the community. And one thing that we did was, in the beginning, there were a lot of non-Native people who gathered around this issue, and it became difficult for our women in particular to sit in those circles. And so we gathered a First Nations circle. So we gathered an Aboriginal woman's circle and created another kind of a container for just our women to sit together and to talk about these issues in a way that they didn't have to be mindful of others in the room. And I think that piece is really important because there's a lot of us who have never told our story or how we are connected to somebody, an auntie or a grandma or a child who has disappeared or has been murdered. So I would make that a recommendation if a community is as diverse as Red Deer is. I think, the medicine of kindness is really important because our community is diverse and has a very long history of racism and criticism. It was really important to create kindness for each of us to be reminded that we needed to practice the medicine of kindness, to really remember those teachings of unconditional love and kindness. and seeing the sweetgrass on the altar, each community circle was really important. We have a lot of very powerful people. We have a lot of very vocal people. We have a lot of political people. And it was difficult to put down the agendas and put down ego even. But when you sit in a circle with cedar, and you sit in a circle with sweetgrass, and you sit in a circle with sage, and you smudge together, it becomes difficult to hang on to your resentment and your bitterness, even if it's well-founded. There's a place for those things, and those circles were not the place. And we had to, each one of us, deal with that before we came to the circle. And I think that has been an important and powerful medicine that has created a healing in some of those broken relationships, in fractured communities that, maybe that's the urban experience, I don't know. But certainly I would say that has been one of the most beautiful things that I've seen in Red Deer. I go back to when the bundle came from Whitehorse. We sat together, the bundle came and was going to be kept at the lead elder's home at Corky's home, and we came together as keepers to sing that bundle in, which really is our way to welcome the contingency that came from Whitehorse and prepare the space so that the bundle would very quickly feel at home in Corky and Lynn's house. And there's such kind elders and strong elders in our community, it wouldn't have made sense for the bundle to live anywhere else. And so that was, I think, the beginning of, what we call homefulness, of creating that idea of home and belonging, which is something that we've been very intentional about doing for the bundle as it sits in the museum as well, that we've tried to create those counseling spaces and those common spaces that will provide a real sense of welcome and homefulness. And those spaces are also sacred spaces. We treat them the same way we treat the bundle. We smudge those spaces every day. We smudge every item that goes in, even to the counseling room. Those things are important because all those things are medicine, and all those items that are in there are also sacred. So I think that's been very important. There's been good teaching and orientation. We've had different kinds of counselors. We've had counselors and we've had elders that have done traditional work, and we try and ask people, would they like to see a counselor? Would they like to be brushed off with the eagle fan? Would they like to sit with an elder? And I think in that way it honors the fact that we're very different. Even as we invite people into the ceremony, we talk about the smudge and the importance of it from our perspective. But we also, remind people that the most important thing is that they pray. And however they pray is a good way. And that we're grateful that they would pray for the women of our community, that they would pray for the families represented by those vamps. And all prayer is good. Even if I don't get it, it's still good. And that's been very powerful. We've had some really heavy days. We've had days where it just felt like the ceiling was on top of us. It was just so incredibly heavy. And as a keeper, to remember all of those sacred teachings about ceremony, about smudging everything, using the eagle fans to clear the space often, to use the cedar to clear the space and keep it lighter. We sing a lot in the space. I took on the responsibility to smudge the bundle each morning, even though we smudge the bundle each night and put, help the sisters to rest. I'm really grateful for the morning because it's the time when the space is the lightest, and it's a time when you can sing, and it's a time when you want to dance. And if you are the lead keeper, I would encourage you to remember that space is also a healing space for us as workers, because after the bundle goes, we're still going to live in our communities, and we're still going to have our families that are broken, and we're still going to have our young people on the road and missing, whether they're missing for a day or a year or forever. We will hold that reality in our communities, and I think that it's strong medicine that comes for a time to the community for those of us that work on the front line, and to take advantage of the good spirits of the sisters that have walked on, and that they come back, they stand up on the vamps and they sing. And if you're quiet in the morning, you can hear those old songs, and it gives you what you need to keep going, because the work is hard. And this is today's story. It's not the residential school story. This is our current her story, and we're sitting in it, each one of us. As it talks about the number of keepers, and I don't know if we didn't expect there to be an overwhelming response to this bundle, but I would say, whatever you're thinking, add a helper for each keeper. So whatever your number is, add a helper. We were very strict about ceremony, people that understood ceremony or had ceremony as keepers. But helpers become the next keepers, because when the bundle goes, we still need pipe carriers. We still need women that can carry the rocks in the lodge, that can do smudging ceremonies, that can work with the fans. And that was a big learning for us. I don't ever want to be in the space without a helper, somebody to help me. Because what we found is that as people move from their head to their heart, the grandmothers were often spending time with those people, and the keepers are trying to do the spiritual work and watch over the space and pray in the corners. But you'll find, as a keeper, you're always thirsty, you're always hungry, you're always weak, you're always tired, because the work is happening in the unseen world. And it's wonderful to have a helper that can at least take over a smudge, can do a smudge with somebody, or can carry a blanket for somebody else, so that you can find a small corner in the ceremony and breathe and call out to the grandmothers and sit close to the songs and have that medicine pour over you. Because this work isn't over when the bundle gets taken up and moved on to the next town. We're still going to be wounded, and we're still going to be needing the support of the community. So I guess take care of yourself and ask for someone to take care of you. We're not good at it as ceremonialists. We think that we're supposed to be able to take care of ourselves. That's what our pipes are for. That's what the sweat lodge is for. And those things are true, but I can only speak for myself. At the end of my shifts, I am weak, and I'm tired, and I'm hurt. And I'm grateful for sisters to walk with me.